We're back, yes, and we have him, the Oropouche East MP and UNC Shadow Minister of National Security, the Honorable Dr. Roodal Moonilal. Pleasant good evening to you, Dr. Moonilal.
Good evening to you and all your listeners.
Always a pleasure to have you on.
Great.
Straight into it, I mean, the murder toll so far for the year is 564. We have 42 days to go before we usher in a brand new year. And you are making it quite clear, based on this survey that was conducted, that the government, of course, poor ratings, and the people simply do not have trust in the TTPS. I mean,
Well,
that in itself.
Mikey, as you know, the Police Service Commission has submitted their annual report for 2023. Centerpiece of that report has been the survey results of their poll. The poll, I believe, is not extensive, but is significant. I think 2,300 persons, more or less, demarcated by individuals, organizations, demography, and so on. And it's a frightening result that they have demonstrated that 82% of the people are fearful of crime, and 72% have no trust in the police service. It's a very serious matter. It is not unexpected. I mean, it is not like we are surprised by that data, because as we know, the police service has been suffering from a crisis of confidence and trust in the national population. So it was not surprising. What I think was really the big issue of the day was the fact that 6 or 7 police officers have been discharged from the courts, the High Court, on the basis that there was no prosecution from the public prosecutor, which is the police, and there was no file in the courts. And these are persons who have been charged, arrested, and so on in relation to extortion, which is a very significant issue now, as you know. When that matter broke today, I issued a press release, to indicate that this requires an independent investigation and requires further accountability from particularly the Commissioner of Police, because it cannot be that they want each and every one to report extortion and so on. And when police are before the courts, in particular police officers, that matters are thrown out in this scandalous manner.
Yeah, but when you look at it, Dr. Moonilal, I mean, this didn't happen overnight. We were told on the campaign trail that Dr. Rowley said he sent Fitzgerald Hines to Fairfax County in Virginia. Then of course, Mr. Hines is saying that it is not his job basically to curb crime. He deals with the administrative aspect. Then you have the addition of Attorney at Law Keith Scotland. Then you talk about resources, and the list goes on and on. When is this connection going to be made, when it is said here that the entire country lives in dreadful fear for their lives? We're hearing businesses closing up shop early, people changing the way they go about their lives, senior citizens afraid to go out because they're now soft targets. When is the connection going to be made that something has to be done more than just old talk?
Well, the problem here is that if something has to be done, and it has not been done in the last 9 years, it will not be done in the next 9 weeks. So the first thing is we have to abandon this thought that the current administration can solve the problem. They can't solve the problem, because if they could have solved the problem, they would have solved it already. That's the first issue. The second issue, of course, is that there are specific characteristics of crime that are creating havoc, particularly matters of extortion, home invasion, gang-related murders, and so on. And the government is, of course, clueless and aimless in dealing with that, so that those matters will not, change overnight. It has to do with a wider, holistic approach to crime fighting, including intelligence. And as I have noted in the Parliament just yesterday, they have been talking so much about the SIA and so on, and they have no final report on any matter related to the SIA, when they have been making fundamental changes in policy and personnel and law in some cases on the basis of incomplete analysis, incomplete investigations, and so on. And that is a very, very serious matter.
Yeah, and I mean, compounded with the fact that there's so many other things going on. I mean, just last week, I had a rep from OWTU right here on television, and he said that the total refined products imported from December 1st, 2018 to the 30th of June of this year by Paria is over 7 billion US dollars.
Well, that's a crisis of its own because they closed the refinery on the basis that we couldn't sustain it, and then they used all the forex which they could not earn to import the critical, energy supplies for the country. And that has been a crisis that we have written, we have spoken about in and out of the parliament, and is a matter we have to address as an incoming administration. As I've said before, an incoming administration will address the issue of revenue generation and particularly earning foreign exchange, which is critical to all small island development, territories in the Caribbean.
Yeah, and on this issue of the Attorney General and the Auditor General and what took place in the Privy Council,
Sure.
it seems as though mainstream media has a way of just bringing this about maybe once and then all of a sudden it just seems to die down. But these are some very serious issues. One of your colleagues, Senator Jayanti Lakshmi-Dayal, made it quite clear that there should be a criminal investigation into this matter.
Correct. I mean, there are serious issues as to the shortfall in billions of dollars, the lack of accountability, the lack of data and information on those matters, and the Minister of Finance is at the center of that. So clearly, we must have a further investigation as to what went wrong.
Yeah, you're also a deputy political leader, of course, and there has been some comments made by individuals saying that there's no transparency in the UNC screening for general election candidates. However, the opposition leader, the Honorable Kamala Persad-Bissessar, said that the screening process is ongoing. The nomination booklets are 23 pages long and are very comprehensive. What do you say to those who are locked on tonight, say, listen, what's going on with the process and is it not going to take...
continuing. The fact is that there's no general elections that have been declared. As you know, it is constitutionally due next year, which can, according to our law, can take us to November next year. So that, I think people are just getting carried away. They are getting nervous. They are getting frigidity, as we say, and don't understand that, there's a process to follow, and we will screen and we will determine candidates and so on. But the election can be held constitutionally anytime between now and November 2025, and one ought not to get nervous and jittery about that.
And finally, again, on the issue of crime, looking at what's happening and how things are shaping up, going into the general elections, what should be the main message?
The main message is that there can be no change, there can be no reversal in terms of the crime and the insecurity issue unless there's a removal of government. And persons believe that we can somehow fix crime without removing the government. It will not happen that way. And the population must wake up and come to the reality that to deal with crime, you have to remove the incumbent government.
All right. Closing comments, go right ahead.
My closing comments, of course, is that the population need to be mobilized and organized and agitated sufficiently to ensure that, we still have a paradise, we can still build economic prosperity, we can still build, employment generation on the basis of the significant investment attraction. A key pillar of our program will be attracting investments that will generate jobs and economic activity, which is critical to the economic engine of this economy. And that is what we are about, and there's hope. That's my message.
All right. Thank you so much for taking time out again.
Thank you very much.
Always enlightening.